I didn't think it was possible for a company to make a more bafflingly stupid and greedy series of decisions in such a short amount of time until now. YouTube is a platform. That's the excuse that they have used over and over again to not have to deal with the consequences of their own actions. But if the stage is being stripped for parts to increase profit margins to the point that performers are falling through it while the owner is literally refusing to pay for the work being done by the artists, then it's not a good platform. At this point, I'm genuinely starting to wonder how it's even legal. No, really, YouTube. How is it legal? Now, YouTube has been making a lot of changes recently. Some of them you might have even noticed, such as completely removing the dislike button, or reducing how many videos are shown on the homepage. And while I do want to talk about those, there are 3 recent changes in particular that I feel might genuinely ruin this platform that you may not have even heard of. And honestly, I'd argue that a lot of their previous scripts are but a coughing baby next to the nuclear bomb that has been some of their recent choices. For example, in a couple of days, the view counts for videos are going to mean basically nothing. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, exactly what it sounds like. You see, currently YouTube only counts a view on a video if you've watched it for around the first 10 to 30 seconds. This is actually a pretty good idea because a higher view count can typically be a sign of higher quality videos. I mean, all it takes is to go back to YouTube in 2012 when they actually implemented this to see its impact on things like clickbait. So of course, YouTube decided that they were going to change it back to where now all it takes is for somebody to see the first frame of a video for it to count towards the view count. I don't think I need to explain why this is a stupid decision, and especially because of the fact that hovering over a video for a few seconds causes it to autoplay now, view counts for videos are going to be massively artificially inflated. The only reason I can possibly think of for YouTube deciding to do this is to artificially boost viewership across the platform to make the numbers seem bigger. Ooh, number go up, now give us more money for our AI data center. But I'm going to be honest, of all of the recent decisions, this is the tamest. YouTube has enough other systems in their algorithm to prevent it from pushing stuff too hard, but it is going to incentivize things like clickbaity thumbnails to slow down someone's scroll enough to where it plays the first frame of the video and gives it an extra view. The second of these changes, though, is one that has much broader consequences, and that hasn't even really been announced yet, but you can see the signs of it everywhere when you start looking. And that is the massive increase in AI-only moderation. Now, YouTube's automatic moderation system has been bad for years at this point. However, it has gotten exponentially worse over the last couple months. It is no secret that an absolutely ludicrous amount of AI-made slop videos have been completely flooding the internet. And to give YouTube the slightest sliver of credit, they are claiming to crack down on that. The only problem is there doesn't seem to be much oversight. Now, I'll be honest, when it comes to smaller and up-and-coming creators, I don't really know what the sustainable solution here is other than automation. But the problem is when you're dealing with established creators who have hundreds of thousands to tens of millions of subscribers, oversight had better be a requirement. Kurzgesagt, one of the largest educational channels on the platform, was automatically shadow banned after being falsely flagged as AI because of how often many other channels have stolen their style. Tons of animation channels are getting completely demonetized after YouTube systems automatically began associating animation as strictly made for kids. And just put simply, the number of legitimate creators that are losing their livelihoods because of these systems is getting out of hand. Now, I understand that with the amount of low quality sludge that's getting thrown onto this platform, some automation is going to be necessary. But there needs to be a proper way that isn't just yelling about it online to appeal a decision like this. It would be more useful to strap a complaint letter to a passenger pigeon and send it to YouTube's headquarters than it would be to actually appeal one of their decisions through YouTube's systems. It would take 2 seconds for an actual human to look at a channel like this and see that it's legitimate. And in their case, they weren't even told they were shadow banned. That's the shadow part of it. They had to reach out directly to one of their representatives to find out because, well, they're big enough to do that. Put in the simplest way possible, YouTube isn't willing to spend the money to hire actual people to look over these decisions. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if your average Twitch streamer had more moderation than YouTube's ban system. YouTube instead wants to spend that money to develop systems to help them flood their own system with even more slop. Awesome. So what, YouTube, are you gonna ban low quality content or encourage it? Because I'm getting some pretty mixed signals right now. But now for the last and possibly the most egregious change that YouTube has made in the history of this platform. And yes, I genuinely believe this may be worse than removing dislikes. The difference is this is something that won't immediately or directly affect you. Instead, this will be something that slowly erodes the quality of this platform over time more than any other decision YouTube has made. And that's the increase in requirements for monetization. I genuinely don't think enough people are mad about this. Shorts. Now, unless you're relatively interested in actually becoming a professional creator on YouTube, you probably don't know anything about these requirements. Essentially, you need to hit a certain number of subscribers, watch hours, or views before YouTube will give you a penny of the money that you have earned for them. When it comes to long-form videos, that's 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, and for Shorts, it's 10 million views in 90 days. Those are the metrics you need to get before you can even apply to the YouTube Partner Program. Now, those numbers are pretty vague, so I'm going to put that in a monetary perspective, because that's what we're dealing with here. It's money. For my channel, if I get 4,000 hours of watch time, I make roughly $250. Not a crazy amount, but nothing to sneeze at. I mean, I could upgrade my microphone with that money. In other words, that's about how much money I missed out on making before I was monetized. YouTube has now doubled this. In other words, you need to miss out on the equivalent of around $500 to even apply to make money on YouTube. Now, this sucks, but trust me, it gets so much worse, because so far I've only been talking about watch time. However, if you're a Shorts creator, you're actually just screwed, because the monetization system is basically just a scam at this point. 10 million views is already a massive amount. To get that many Shorts views in 3 months, you're likely already going to be in the top echelons of creators already. So of course they doubled it to 20 million views and made it to where if you drop below 10 million views over 90 days, you don't make any money off Shorts. This is actually ridiculous. Now, I brought up how much money you're going to be missing out on from long form, but for Shorts at this point, it's getting into the realms of theft. When it comes to Shorts, 20 million views is $4,000. That is literally a car or rent or food for the year. You could live off that in most countries. In other words, you now need to give an extra $2,000 to YouTube before you can even see a penny of any of the money you made for them. And if at any point you aren't getting 10 million Shorts views, or the equivalent of a new computer every 90 days, they won't pay you a penny of the money you made from Shorts. This includes if you're already monetized off long form videos, by the way, so expect a lot fewer Shorts from long form creators. I actually cannot even think of a reason for this. YouTube has claimed that this is to promote higher quality content on Shorts. However, I really don't see how this is possibly the case. People who are flooding Shorts with low quality videos don't have any production cost. They can afford to miss out on that money, but someone who is actually trying to make this their job basically needs to get to the point where they could be making a livable income off YouTube before they even see a penny of their work. And remember, after that, they need to keep up 10 million views every 3 months to keep making money from Shorts. There's a term for that. It's called wage theft. I really don't see how any Shorts creator could look at that and feel like it's fair. Not to mention the number of long-form creators who won't find posting Shorts worth it anymore. This change just means a lot of small creators are going to miss out on a lot of money that they should have earned. This is actually just so frustrating, if I'm being honest. There is no good reason for YouTube to have made these changes other than simply just greed. That is the answer to why YouTube is making these changes. They change the view count to fluff the numbers. They don't review things to save money on employees. They up the requirements so they can keep a bigger slice of the pie. And it's not like those are their only options. YouTube is already one of the most watched platforms in the world. They shouldn't need to fluff the numbers. They have the money to hire more employees, and they should be able to let creators keep some of the money that their work is making the platform. They have so many alternatives to this too. One option is to simply just cap uploads until a channel can prove that they're not just going to upload low quality slop. Timmy with 2 subscribers doesn't need to upload 100 AI videos in a day. They can also just hire more people to review monetization changes for a channel, be it adding or removing monetization. There are so many other options that YouTube has, but this is what they're going with because it makes them the most money. Even if it screws over the creators that make this platform what it is. But it's not like anything is going to change. YouTube is never going to listen to creators. We can complain about dislikes or views or monetization changes, but we don't have anywhere else to go. I wish I had a better takeaway from this video, but honestly, I don't. YouTube isn't going to listen because they don't need to. There is nothing that can really be done. YouTube might say it's a platform, but it's also the only platform. And that monopoly has let them get away with basically anything. I mean, they take a higher percentage of the revenue than literal concert venues do. YouTube has so much to offer, but eventually that deal might not be worth it anymore. Part of me used to wonder if I was ever going to see the day when YouTube was dethroned from online video. Honestly, after seeing these decisions, if they continue down this path, I don't know know if that question is an if anymore, but rather a when. I didn't make this video from a place of hatred. YouTube is my home. I don't want to move, but if I see mold in the corners, I'm going to call it out. And if it doesn't get taken care of and it keeps growing, I might start looking for other places. That applies to me, it applies to every creator, but it also applies to you, the viewers. On the off chance that any employee that works at YouTube or Google is watching this, these short-sighted decisions is how a company eventually dies. There is no such thing as too big to fail. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe for daily uploads, and I will see you tomorrow.